Thank you all for tuning in to another edition of Outside the Shop with me, your host, Daryl D. Lane, where I get to talk about everything that I don't normally get the chance to talk about on my regular sports podcast, Barbershop Sports Talk, which you guys can all find on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Radio, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Thank you to everybody who's tuning in via YouTube live stream, Twitter/Periscope, and Facebook Live. Like, comment, and subscribe. So, by the way, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope everybody's having a fun and blessed time with your family and friends. So, take of the day. SEC football jobs are overrated. And first, you guys might say, oh my God, Daryl, the SEC, it's the best conference in college football. It has warm weather. It has the best pageantry. It has the best tailgates. It has the most passionate fans. It just means more there. They have the best stadiums. They're bigger than most NFL stadiums. They have these crazy night games. A night game in Death Valley at LSU, there's nothing like it. There's so much money being poured in the SEC. SEC, the best recruiting, right? The South is where the best football is played. But I think you guys are focused on all the positives. And then I want to use this comparison. Think about this, right? This is kind of like public school versus private school. Let's call the SEC private school, right? They have all these advantages culturally, regionally, money-wise that maybe public schools don't. But is a private school really better than a public school? So here's what I want to pose this to you. When you're looking at private versus public school, a lot of people always say, hey, better education. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the case. There's a lot of good public schools where if you're taking AP classes, that's as good of an education as any private school you'll go to. Also, fun fact, teachers are paid more at public schools. So theoretically, better teachers go to public schools as opposed to private schools because they make more money. People go to jobs that pay them more. So it's like, is it a better education? Really? Maybe not when you look at it deeper. People might say, oh my God, I have a better chance. My son or daughter has a better chance to be getting looked at for sports. Well, I would beg to differ. If you're really good, you're going to get found regardless. You think whether LeBron James was found and drafted out of high school had anything to do with where he played in high school? No, LeBron James was found because he's 6'8", 260 pounds. He can pass, rebound, dribble, and do all these amazing things as one of the freakiest athletic specimens we've ever seen. There are people on college campuses whose job is to find the quote-unquote diamonds in the rough, right? That's their job. So that argument doesn't really hold weight. Then you might say, oh my God, the alumni connections. Well, if you're planning on going to college, there aren't many high schools that have better alumni connections than a lot of these big schools. They're really not. You really make your alumni connections and networking at college, not necessarily high school. So I also want to put that out there. And I'm not saying that public schools or private school, for example, you could live in a bad area. You could go to back to the sports analogy. You could have better coaching at this one private school where you think your son or daughter is going to get better at that sport. You could just need a change of scenery from the school you were going to. Maybe you're getting in trouble too much at your old school. There's a lot of different reasons why it is good to go to a private school instead of a public school. But it shouldn't always be like, oh my God, private school. No debate. Yes, let's go to the private school. No, because that's not looking at the bigger picture. Now, like I said, the SEC has all the pageantry. It has all these amazing things. But what it doesn't have, and this is the one thing that any man or woman can attest to in this world, what does everybody thrive in life? Whether it's relationships, whether it's your job, whether it's the people you're around, your friends, your significant other, it's security. It's the feeling of being safe. It's the feeling of waking up in the morning and thinking, you know what? I might not get fired. My family might not be uprooted. I'm going to be here for a long time. I can go to the same church every day. I can get to know children's teachers. My kids can find friends that they know and they get to grow with, right? All those things are important to people, particularly a lot of these coaches. They're in their 30s, 40s, starting to start families. They're thinking about other things than necessarily just football. So these things are very important. And I don't think people realize this. When you look at the job security in the SEC, it's not that great. In fact, I would say it's pretty terrible. There's no safety, there's no security, there's not really a lot of reliability. And I would say for 95% of coaches in America, it doesn't make sense because it's a pressure cooker in the SEC. Look at coaches this year, LSU's, Ed Orgeron. He won a national championship. He's going to mutually agree to part ways and he's going to be gone. He won a national championship. Dan Mullen was in the SEC championship game last year. He's won a lot of games at Florida. He's getting fired because he had one bad year. Gus Malzahn fired last year. He took Auburn to a national championship game. Auburn's been consistently good under him, and Auburn's beaten Alabama multiple times. Jim Harbaugh can't beat Ohio State, and Jim Harbaugh is still here almost half a decade later, probably more, right? More than that. and Jim Harbaugh is still at Michigan. Well, you could argue Gus Malzahn has done a lot of the same things, and he's had more success, and he gets fired from Auburn. Different level of job security. It means more in the SEC, and that's a good thing a lot of the times, but sometimes it can be a negative. When you look at coaches, look at parallel examples. Luke Fickell, he will never be fired from Cincinnati. Matt Campbell will never be fired from Iowa State. Pat Fitzgerald will never be fired from Northwestern. Mel Tucker will never be fired from Michigan State. Jim Harbaugh, from all his faults, it looks like he's not going to be fired anytime soon from Michigan. He can't beat Ohio State, hasn't played in the Big Ten championship game, and yet he still has a job. You don't have that security at SEC schools. You do that in the SEC, they're going to get you out of there. Look at Ole Miss. Where do you rank Ole Miss? It's probably not a Georgia job, not a Florida job, not a Texas A&M job. But if Ole Miss had a couple of 8 to 7 win seasons, Lane Kiffin's probably out of there. And Lane Kiffin's done a lot of good things. You can get recruits everywhere. Cincinnati, they're finding a way to get recruits. Look at a school like UCF. They're in Florida. It's a power state. You can get recruits in Florida. You can get recruits and find your guys anywhere. Doesn't matter. It doesn't. Utah has found a way to be successful. Utah isn't a high school football power. It's not. And they find a way to be consistently ranked in the top 25. So my message, don't always think just because it's in the SEC, it's automatically the better job. And that's my take of the day. Have a great day, everybody, and God bless.